Welcome to this episode of Why Pals Tales from Superyacht Laundry. Just want to let you guys know, done it again. Forgot to press record. So we've been chatting for 15 minutes before I realised. And the gorgeous Emma Clark has been very forgiving. Hi, Emma. How are you?
Hi,
Cherise. Again, this is what I shouldn't have any responsibility when it comes to production. You just sit me down, say, speak now. And yeah, I think it's only going to get worse as I get older. You know, dementia will set in.
It's my own fault. I said it was going to happen, and here we are.
I
actually said it. So
anyway, just for the sake of the listeners, because we did talk about, I know I've been moaning that I'm tired because I'm having to pack I go on holiday tomorrow, packing my suitcase for me and my daughter and kind of for my husband. I don't know why anybody needs moral support for me to pack his bag. Like, it's just one bag. But anyway, and you've literally, where have you flown in from?
St. Lucia.
Yeah, so you were flown in from St. Lucia. So you've got an excuse. You've got jet lag. And you still had to
I have permanent jet lag. I'm a functioning jet lagger.
I don't know how you do it. You just kind of walk around in a daze. Do you forget stuff? Like, sometimes it just gets...
Well, yeah, I'm just like, hang on. Who am I? What do I actually do?
What time is it?
Yeah, what time is it? I was in bed in St. Lucia at 8 p.m. most nights, which was really sad because I'd been in China the week before, so I was jet lagged from China. So, yeah.
And then you never know what time It's like, we'll get into the kind of stuff, the stuff that you're up to. But so apologies, dear listener. I messed it up, basically. So anyway, we're going to talk about your start, what you were doing again, but what you've explained already is very common, you know. Yeah. Yes, but you're going to have to say it again. So you went to uni.
Yeah. Did the uni piece after the handball piece that we spoke about, which was a really rogue side. It was a really rogue side interjection. That after school, I thought I was going to be a professional athlete and went and tried to train for that in Denmark.
And did you into actual sport anyway, or did he literally just pluck you out?
No, I was into sport. I wasn't mad for it. I mean, I was a high jumper. I competed at quite a high level. I just have the benefit of just being 5'11". And when this Sporting Giants campaign got released across the nation in 2012, 4 years before 2012, quick maths, I went for trials over 6 months and got into the Great Britain team. It was all a bit rogue. But yeah, then after, went to uni. I went to university and had a fantastic time. Didn't wear normal clothes for 4 years, just fancy dress. Got a degree. I went to Loughborough, so there was this big fancy dress culture on campus. Got a degree.
Great photos.
We've got some horrendous photos, and it's back in the day when you actually used to upload the whole of your digital camera onto Facebook. So they still live on.
I do remember those days. You know, it wasn't like the digital camera thing. You know, obviously I'm a bit older than you, so like it came on a bit later. So there is evidence out there, but it's in someone's drawer somewhere, probably someone's loft. It's not on the internet.
Hopefully organised and thrown out. I'm forever like throwaway photos.
So you've done your degree, you head into the big smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucky enough to get onto one of the top grad schemes in one of the big management consultancies. So felt pretty dapper getting off the train at Bank Station, going into Fenchurch Street, the big shiny high rises, just strutting. And again, it was in the days that you wore heels and pencil skirts, which now everyone's just in trainers. Adidas is everywhere around.
The heels will come back. The heels will come back. They will come back because we don't look attractive in flat shoes. I'm sorry.
I'll never forget. I went to Vista Village and bought a pair of LK Bennett court shoes, and they were the best thing I thought I'd ever bought in my life. I felt so smug at age early 20s.
So you're in the big smoke. You got your pencil skirt, your heels. This is it. I've cracked it. Life is achieved. Got the dream job.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. And then I realized I was actually posted working from a roundabout in Swindon. Was my first client, was a building society bank. And it wasn't as glamorous as I thought, getting the train to Swindon every morning at 5:45. So that didn't last. That lasted just under 2 years.
No
Before
offense.
I was like, this isn't for me. I think I've got more to give the world.
It's kind of like when you watch movies and TV series, they make finance look really interesting.
Yeah.
But it's just not.
I mean, it might be to someone who finds it interesting, but that's not I. But I was in the background kind of just doing, is it a risk report, red, amber, or green risk? And just things like that. So I was what's called a PMO, which you're just doing status reports, changes to scope, all just, yeah, you're being like the secretary of the account, really. It was not great.
No. So how long did you last?
Switch it up.
How long did you last?
Just under 2 years. I think we mentioned when we spoke previously, I didn't make it quite to the golden handshake, which is if you lasted 2 years, you got a big bonus. And I thought that my soul was worth more than that.
It's not worth it. It's just not
So
worth
I've
it.
actually moved to another management consultancy after that, actually. I got enticed in by some space hoppers. There were some telephone boxes, which were your phone booths, which you could take calls from, like red telephone boxes. And then there was a tortoise you could take home for the weekend. So I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds great. It's based in Covent Garden, sexy.
Trendy.
Yeah, let's do management
Yeah.
make it cool, right?
Yeah.
And
It's always makes things cool.
And then on my first week, they're like, okay, so your client is a contractor for Network Rail and you're going to be out on the railways. So,
High visit up.
yeah. And my office was in Waterloo Station upstairs. And I was just like, oh my God, there must be more. There must be more to life than this.
Oh, dear.
Stared out at the London Eye and there was one red carriage and it obviously takes an hour to go round. And I knew that an hour had passed every time I saw this red carriage just get back up to the top.
That's not a good sign.
It's not good.
It's not a good sign.
No.
So London Rail again, not exciting.
No. So yeah, moved from that and then was like, right, there must be more to this. So went on the search to be a photography studio assistant, which turned into actually working in a film studio as a junior producer. So looking after animations, visual effects, CGI on films, which is really fun. Loved the team and studio and things. But then that one closed, had to move to another one. And the grind just really hit, like the pressure of managing multiple films and TV ads going out at the same time. And I just felt the weight of pressure of London life really like collapsing in. And I just had to get out.
So it's quite young as well, like 20 something. It's quite a lot to take on.
Really struggled. And I'm pretty open about it now. I think I had at the time like a breakdown. Like then I think that was my first like real stress breakdown of not being able to quite cope with the capacity, like with the amount of work that's being put on young shoulders. I was head of post-production because they obviously thought I was capable and I kept saying yes, but I just couldn't take it. So yeah, that was when I was like, right, need to leave. Let's go on a plane.
It's a lot. Like it's a lot. The thing is, if you are capable, keen, and that's why loads of people go to London. It's that moment to make your mark, make your money. But the more you show you're capable of, and you're quite cheap as well. Like this is also a thing in London, whereas you're super capable and the person above you's absolutely exhausted. So we'll just throw a load of stuff onto their desk and see what happens.
They just squeeze the lemon, get it out as much juice as they can. I think a lot of these firms hire on people who are really over conscientious and perfectionists. A lot of the big city firms, they look for that kind of drive and then they can use that to get as much out of you, obviously, until you're like, this isn't I can actually take anymore. This isn't right. Yeah.
Learned how the beef works. It is, it is I think it's changed now. I think, we hear about people today going into London and, obviously everybody talks about burnout is a real thing and stuff. Whereas back in my day, it was just, it was sink or swim. That's how it
Yeah.
was. You've either got it or you haven't. It wasn't like, oh, you were actually, overworked, overpressured and everything else. You can either make it or you don't. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like a win last week kind of either or you're strong kind of vibe. Which is quite brutal.
It is brutal. I think the culture is changing, which is good, especially in the land-based world, where people are talking a lot more about things like mental health days, burnout, and being quite aware. Obviously, since COVID, flexible working has changed things. So obviously, I'm not back in the world of management consultancy yet, and never again. I'm not back there.
Yeah, you say it out loud.
No, also, I don't know how it's changed there, but I definitely think in my companies and things I do now, there's definitely a lot more awareness to it.
Well, there's also a little bit more, I don't know whether it's kind of a bit of a commodity kind of vibe as well, because there's always somebody else. And that's why you always used to push yourself so hard, especially in the city. It was like, can't lose this because I need it to get to the next bit, if you know what I mean. But they always, somebody else can come along and feel, nobody's irreplaceable. That was also another thing that was said all the time.
Sounds really familiar, hey? When you look in the yachting industry and see the type, what it gets from you in the same kind of way. There's quite a lot of similarities. And I think I've always been kind of very drawn to that, being needed and doing a job that's perfectionist and it's high pressure, high drive, which is brilliant for a while. And then you just go boom. And it's a big crash.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty tough being a kind of really drawn to, the exhilaration of high pressured environments, but then knowing where you're at to pull yourself back before you disintegrate.
Exactly.
So that didn't work either.
No, I think, and that was unconscious through it kind of crumbling, but conscious decision of, no, I need to make a change here. There has to be a stake in the ground. We've got to, go travel. I took a period of travel, then came back and was like, no, I'm not going back to London. That's not happening. Which I literally got a job in a waterfront cafe in Bristol and then made some cocktails, did some tapas, met one of my lifelong friends who I managed to recruit into coming yachting after a couple of years as well, which was brilliant. So we spent some time on a boat together after working in a bar/cafe in Bristol. And that's when the yachting journey started.
I think hospitality is good. It's intense, but it's not as mentally demanding. Now, I will have lots of hospitality people shouting at me, probably, or at this podcast, saying it is. But there is a difference between hospitality on land and there is at sea, for sure. Very stark difference. But there is, those, I always used to have kind of like a side job. So like I have a weekend job because I'd spend too much money otherwise. So I'd have my 9 to 5 and then work in bar and hospitality. And a lot of it was just the social side.
Yeah. We'd have, I think hospitality is one of the best groundings you could do. Like the starters, I've always done weekend jobs, always worked at the village pub. My parents have run businesses and I've always worked for them in a hospitality capacity. It's always been a part of my life. And I think it's one of the best things you can have. It's helped me with engaging with customers in the role that I do now, in talking to people. Yeah, it was fab. And then, hospitality. I think it's really sad to see it falling out of favor with a lot of young people these days. I think loads, especially I spoke to my parents' friends recently, and they were saying that their kids are kind of going, oh, I need a summer job. I'm not waiting in a bar. I'm not going to be working in a bar, or I don't want to work in a restaurant. I don't want to do that. And that's really sad because that used to be the way, whereas I think they're struggling in the industry.
What are their options?
Good.
What would you like to do? Well, I'd like to work. All of the jobs are rubbish in the beginning, in a way. Like you're not talking, weekend jobs is not about your professional career. It's kind of, hopefully you work with some cool people. You work in a bar where you can siphon off free alcohol,
you have drinks afterwards. I've had many a great night after work. Yeah, after work. Drinking in the bar after work, going out. It's great. But yeah. So.
Well, that's a shame that they're not seeing. Well, it doesn't surprise me in a way. All of the stuff that's coming out about the kids that were teenagers coming into COVID and everything else. Like, I imagine they don't want to, because the pressure of that kind of social interaction probably freaks them out massively.
Yeah,
because they've lost, an opportunity. My daughter will be going to do a job somewhere. I mean, bar work teaches you how to deal with arseholes.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, my job now is not glorified bar work. I'm not serving drinks, but I'm having to deal with clients in a hospitality capacity on a daily basis.
Yeah. Drunk ones, so awkward ones.
Yes. But, and it led to where I am now, or the journey that I had through the people I met and ended up doing yachting, and then through the role I do now. So
you shouldn't underestimate the value of that experience.
Exactly.
So you worked in a bar,
yeah,
a restaurant. Sounds idyllic, actually. But you just woke up one morning going, "No, I'm not going to work by the river anymore."
Well, I kind of stopped doing that job because one day I had 80 coffee tabs on, and everyone that I made kept getting thrown down the sink by the owner. He was like, "No, not good enough. No, not good enough." And I had to, they kept just coming, the tabs. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm drowning." And it's like, look, actually, I don't think I'm cut out for being a barista. I can't make a beautiful stencil on top of a coffee on the flowers. So I went and worked as a receptionist at a Land Rover garage. Great. Then I saw all of the salespeople. I was going to say salesmen because it was all guys. And they were, big egos, all bravado. And I was just the receptionist. And I was like, I can do your job and I can do it better. So I went straight up to the manager and was like, I want to be a saleswoman. And worked as a saleswoman for 6 months before going yachting, because through that I met my partner, or my former partner. He also worked in the automotive industry. I was at a car show, we met, and then started talking about our backgrounds, and he was an ex-yachtie. And yachting is always something I'd seen. I'd actually gone to Palma in my early 20s with my aunt and uncle to go and see my grandmother who lived there, and had actually gone with the intention of becoming a yachtie.
Really?
Didn't realise I needed an STCW and the medical. So I was like, oh, no, couldn't get it. So just stayed in Palma for a few weeks just doing a Spanish course. But yeah, so when we were chatting, I was like, oh, I've always wanted to do yachting. That's really cool. Can you get us a job? And then, before I knew it, I'd signed up to the Flying Fish Stewardess course. I went ahead of him because he was like, no, you can't do that. That's mad. And I just really was spurred on, did it. And then he was like, okay, I'm coming. I'm going to quit my job too. So then we were lucky enough to get a job. I got the role first back on his friend's yacht. I think he was chief mate, captain at the time.
Wow.
Got us a job on board, and then he followed a few months later.
So first boat, how big? Because size matters, remember? Size matters.
I remember what it was, 70 metres? 70 metre headship. Nice.
Red bed as well, that's nice. Gold.
Good crew. Yeah, it's just a really nice starter for 10. My God, it was a shock to the system. Going down in my mind, it was the mighty fall from being like, Miss, I'd gone to uni, I'd got the degree, I went to the grad scheme, and then it was like, and now you're in laundry. And I did have that moment of thinking, oh my God, I want to be running this. I want to be like chief steward already. And it's, I know you've got a whole lot to learn.
It is humbling.
Yeah.
Most people don't. You just think about cleaning toilets and showers.
Yeah.
When you're a student, you barely clean your own, let alone cleaning them to a super high standard. And it's a massive humbling experience. I think it's really, like you said about hospitality being grounding, I think yachting can really put you on an equal par with everybody, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. And I enjoyed the cleaning. I mean, I loved it. I think it's that little perfectionist. I'm really super competitive. I think that's the sporting bit. And I just wanted to clean it as best as I could. So, oh my gosh, I want to clean this so that when, the second stew comes around and checks everything, they can go, well done, you've done a good job. It would kill me if they're like, you found a hair on the floor of the bathroom. I'll be like, no.
I was literally, that's so funny because I was talking to somebody today about the one person that you've worked for. Sales is very similar. So, obviously, I don't know, but when you go through sales training and they're making you ring about 1 million people and you hate every minute of it until you get comfortable with that, a bit like hospitality and serving your first drink, like when you're outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And there's one chief stew that I worked for, and I can't say I enjoyed any minute of it, but she made me a better stew because her eye for detail was torture. It was torturous. I was like on my knees on the floor looking up at the bathroom mirror at all the different angles to see whether there was a smear that could be seen. And I was like, but why are they on their knees on the floor?
Yeah.
If you're a guest, why are you on your knees on the floor? Surely you're standing up or whatever.
Oh my goodness, but I do it now. I do it to this day. I do it to my team. They probably, so obviously land-based now, and my team are thinking, why is she doing this? We just work in completely different industry. I don't care about the glass being smudged, but when we get onto the nature of what I do now, you'll see why there's glass smudged. People with hands up against windows.
It's quite, you're probably one of the only guests that is a kind of into the cleanliness thing on the level, because I felt like the industry made me a bit weird because you're like the eye for spotting stuff that's wrong goes off the chart, like everywhere. If you're in a hotel, hotels. So you kind of, and it really, the satisfaction, like doing my own home, but like that pride of, that room is, as beautiful as it could be. I liked making things beautiful. I guess you were addicted to making them look lovely.
Exactly. I think that has, even when I was young, I spent a lot of time like alone as a child, very sad. My parents worked, had their business and they were busy doing that. So rather than like go to friends' houses, I'd be like at home because I couldn't go anywhere. And I'd spend most of my time like always rearranging and arranging my bedroom and cleaning my bedroom. And I think that has really, and the garden shed, let's just change it into all sorts of, one day it's a spa, the next day it's a hotel. And I really think if you go on like childhood psychology, that has impacted everything from yachting to my life now and what I do. So yeah.
Did you also make that cleaning worse or better?
And it really made it made me go completely off the chart. I mean, talking about people who really, I definitely had some really strong stews that I worked with. Again, love-hate relationship, I think. They were brutal. My first beau, really strong character who wanted to be at the top, who was on a mission. And I was like terrified of getting something wrong. And I think I enjoyed it, but also the fear factor was huge about getting something wrong.
It might, like you said, the competitiveness. Like I was just determined. I was like, I just don't want you to be able to talk to me like that. So I'm going to make sure that I got everything.
I think
it goes back to that original thing. You kind of creating your own monster in a way because you're becoming more capable. You're doing more. You're doing it to a better level. And I, on that same boat, like the last trip, and it was like the last few days of the trip, I was doing all of it. Like I'd just done a temp trip, and I was doing all of it, all of the cabins, all on my own. And I was like, do you all need to be upstairs? Because they'd all done like the season, so they were knackered. And I get it.
I don't know.
But when they knew I was capable, like, oh no.
Yeah. No, it was, that's tough. I was lucky enough that we always had a big enough team, I guess. There'd always be at least two. At least two of you, I guess, doing cabins while service was going on. And
it can be It can be like you
You're
are.
giving me the PTSD actually thinking about it right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't actually realize how affected I was after this therapy session until we start thinking about it and that level of competitiveness on board. I think you'll probably touch on it later about what did you like and what did you not, jumping ahead, but that's probably something
Yeah.
to go
So
into.
we can go into what did you like? What was, when you're joining, you're on 70-meter fed, which is a nice build. They generally
Nice.
organize their boats quite nicely, which, if you understand boats, moving around a boat and trying to do your job, there are some boat builders that are generally quite decent and
Yeah.
lay it out properly so you can do your job. I would say fed. Animals is quite good.
Yeah, I worked on a fed ship. No, 2 feds, a Darman support yacht, and oh my gosh, what was that? Can't remember. Yeah, another one. Not less.
Lancaster.
No, I'm like, how can I Google this whilst we're talking? What's that?
So no, she is Googling it now.
Yeah, a Nobis Krug.
Oh, what?
And a Nobis Krug.
Oh, right, okay. I've never heard of that before.
Nope. There you go. That's why I didn't remember it.
No, because I've never heard of it.
Well known yacht herself, but
so is it nice? What were your first impressions? Obviously you said it was kind of humbling from the start, but like when you got into it, what were your highlights?
Oh my goodness. I think one of the things I super remember my first impression was taking my shoes off and getting onto the passerelle and just the feeling of teak underneath your feet. It's kind of warm and really soft. And you're just like, oh my God, I've made it. This is luxury. You're walking on this, like it's all blue around you, like the water's shimmering, and you just feel on cloud 9. Nothing beats it. There's a certain, I don't know, there's a smell to it. Is that all weird? Like it's the smell of the teak and
the water
and the warm and maybe a bit of sun cream. Is that real amazing?
I really miss the moving.
You miss
when
it.
you're on board. And when boats can move around all the time, but there's just always this little bit of a sway. I really liked the sway. Well, obviously not when you're stuck in like a force 9 or whatever it was, but like
midway across the Atlantic or something.
Yeah,
like a storm in the Bay of Biscay, maybe not. And I think that feeling came back so many times. Every time I came back off leave, every time I came back in temp. Once I decided to leave the industry, I did the classic rebound, come back, temp a bit. And I came back, I was like, oh, I missed this. And obviously with that, it's the camaraderie, it's having a crew around you. That's fab. And there were ups and downs always, where you have like really low moments, but then also you meet some friends for life and have amazing experiences, spend Christmas in St. Bart's or in Monaco, New Year's Day. I watched a film the other day and it was the fireworks in St. Bart's at New Year's, and I was like, I was that. It's just amazing to have had those experiences. I feel very, as they say, blessed. Yeah.
It's it's an opportunity. I mean, I think if you've already been traveling and moving around, it's not too much to get used to as well. And then it just becomes highlights and it just becomes really addictive, like.
It is. And I got really engrossed into it. And I still, these days, I'm like, I'll go to a restaurant and I pick up the plate and I'm like, oh, what is this? I go, oh, they've got Christopher cutlery. Oh my goodness. And baccarat glass. I'm so excited. It's just not that I'm eating restaurants that have that, but the odd time you see like a Bernardo plate and you're like, oh,
Christopher.
I'm part of that world. I understand what this is. No one around me gets it.
Crystal. Oh, how many hours of my life have I polished that stuff?
Yeah. I'm a glutton for punishment. I still do it. So I've created a monster.
So when did it all start to go a bit?
I don't know if it's like it for everyone. I think you have those moments when you come to moving every single yacht that you might move to. Unless it's someone who goes, I stayed on a yacht and I stayed there for 5-6 years and it was amazing. I probably did the 2 year. And each time it went, not loving this, or the crew change. I think a small change in the crew members can really change the dynamic,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't sit with you anymore. Maybe there gets a bit of like girl competitiveness in the interiors that's really tricky to navigate. And you're like, I don't want to be a part of this. So around those, and then the final kind of, because I came back and I temped as well. I went onto a smaller boat, part of a fleet, and it was just tricky managing, working across the 3 yachts. Yeah. And I think that was like, okay, maybe I want something different now. I've done quite a few years. I was early 30s. I was like, I need to start to make a move. So that was the first time I left.
So you've obviously, do you feel like you're quite in tune with when you feel like you've got to go?
Oh, big time.
You seem you kind of like you get to a point.
I really hang on though. I did really try. I mean, I did some really weird stuff. I was reminiscing with some gal pals about it the other day. I used to shut myself in the uniform room because that was the only room that you could put a lock on the door. And I was like, I don't want anyone to come in, and I'm going to sit down here and I'm going to take my crystals, because we were all super into taking crystals out onto the bow at full moon. Who knew? And the captain thought we were wild. Woo. So I'd sit in there with my crystals and try and do, like a mindfulness meditation, just to like recenter, and where can I find space for self-care on board?
Yep.
And so you try and battle through for a bit, and then it comes to a time that it's actually no. Doing yoga in the engine room with like cans on my ears it's just not cutting the mustard. It's just not working anymore. And it was obviously a really tough decision because my partner was still on board. We didn't work on the same yacht the whole way through, but we were within the same fleet. So he might be on board one and I was on the other. And it might go weeks that we weren't able to see each other properly, but he might go past on a garbage run and I'd wave, that kind of romantic movement. But yeah, it was tough. When I made that decision, I had to leave him on board whilst I went home.
It's quite tricky,
That,
I think, when you've got a relationship on board to make that decision,
Yeah. I'm just trying to wonder. I can't actually remember timelines massively. I think it was during COVID, the start of COVID. I'm just trying to remember when that was when I went back and temped, because I went back and temped for the same fleet. But again, that was a big driving factor towards it being the final straw. The first time was just prior to COVID. I think I kind of hit the point where I wanted more responsibility as well. I'd even mentioned, look, I used to work in finance. I used to work in project management. I really would love to be a purser. Like for me, that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the captain I had at the time was like, look, my sister's been a chief stew for 15 years and she's not even a purser. So you've got a long way to go. And I thought, oh God, I'm getting out then, So
purser is the biggest con in the industry because there's just not that many positions. You've got companies churning out 10, 20 purser courses. Well, individuals on purser courses, each course. And there's not that many positions.
Yeah. I went to do one.
The courses are valuable, I guess, but there's not that many positions. They're really rare.
Definitely. I think I actually went to I was going to do one. When I came back to land, I was like, right, I'm going to do a purse course, did all the calls, did all the meetings to sign up. And then I was looking at the cost outlay versus the benefit. And I was looking at the modules. I was thinking, sounds really bad. Apart from not having the certification, that's what I did at uni, or I've done in my previous roles in being a project manager.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I need to learn some of the port controls and things. But friends who were pursers previously were like, I learned that within my first time going in to port clearance, to do a port clearance. And it was fine. You just learn on the job. So I decided not to go, and then actually got a role as a purser on a yacht, but it just didn't feel like the position to go for at the time. So, yes.
So it's after COVID? Or during?
Yeah, and then I went to tempt, and it actually was COVID. It was in the height of COVID, and it was just a brutal regime. I mean, we were in quite a secure yacht where there's a lot of, I guess, paranoia about COVID, rightly so, rightly or wrongly so. And we had to do some wacky things like dip every single provision that came on 3 times in 3 different sets of water. And that meant like blueberries having to be dried individually. And then you'd all have to jump in the sea in your wets afterwards, the whole crew. And you'd be in the middle of service or housekeeping, and you'd get the all crew provisions here. You have to come down and wash them 3 times in bicarb and water. And it was just really intense. It put lots of strain on, the crew ourselves. We weren't allowed to leave the yacht at all, even when restrictions were relaxing. Other yachts were able to, have one day ashore, but we weren't allowed off unless you're a captain or a chief officer. You weren't allowed to go home. So I think it was about 14 months, and most of us hadn't gone properly home. So
it kind of broke a lot of people. Like the things that boats, I know of a boat that literally only a few months ago relaxed its COVID.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And it was 7 a.m. every morning. You had to have a COVID test, but someone else did it for you. And it was so painful. And I think by the end, it was just like daily nosebleeds. And I was just like, what is going on? I think I saw my parents get, you just see your parents get older. You're having these COVID tests daily. Stuff's happening at home. And you're thinking, yeah, do you know what? I'm actually done. So that was the end for me. It was requesting to leave the next day after I had one COVID test in the morning, and I just shattered.
It's quite invasive as well. Like,
I felt really violated.
Yeah,
really dramatic.
It's not. And obviously, look, in hindsight now, we're all looking back at all the crazy ass stuff. To think what you would in your crew were put through when none of you were at risk. And I imagine the ages of the people that were on board weren't at risk either. But we all kind of went into this kind of psychosis of drama. And
so weird. Someone got COVID on board, even though we weren't going ashore. And no one was. So I didn't really understand. It was all, we were just like, hang on a second. How does this work? Was it a faulty test?
COVID, though. You can't be COVID if you've not been ashore. And then also, like, that year, there was no flu. There was just COVID. I'm like, well, what happened to flu? What's the difference? Oh, no, coronaviruses. Anyway, let's not get
back so many memories. I'm like, oh my gosh, people had to go into isolation in the heli pilots' cabins and stuff like that. It was just weird. It was so weird. Anyway.
It's crazy.
COVID. There's a lot there.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that was.
I think for some, like the particular boat that I've heard is only just really relaxed its rules. That's just control. That's just paranoia controlling the crew. It's a terrible thing to do for 5 years. It's a 5-year anniversary, for God's sake.
That's why I wonder who did get to go. If it's not allowed home leave and things. It was
if you listen to this podcast, you will listen to countless accounts of women just it broke me. Some people didn't go home for like a couple of years.
Yeah, that was it. And unless you're the captain or the chief officer, because they can't catch COVID, they were allowed to go home. In my mind, it was like, why? What?
Roll with this picture.
What is wrong? Anyway,
shoved up your nose on a daily basis would
I think
put an end to most things.
That kind of, and that was good. That was a good push, probably, that I needed to come back and
stay away from my nose. I'm not taking this anymore. So did you have a clue what you wanted to do when you got off?
I did, yeah. I think so. When I was on board, I started getting really into the home edit, which is this Netflix kind of program about 2 American ladies that go into really rich, like movie stars' houses in LA and things, and make them beautiful, organizing their things.
What's it called? Home edit.
The home edit. Yeah. And it got really big, and I was just binge watching it. And I thought, oh my goodness, what other job combines a passion for detail and literally folding a Russian oligarch's whatever pants for the last few years with project management, organization, doing those risk reports and, status reports and things. And I was like, maybe I could be a professional organizer. And so I was definitely talking about it loads on board. Like, this could go on land. Why can't we just be yacht stews on land that aren't, you don't have to work for a private household full time? Could you be a freelance like this? And then that kind of led into what is now Living Organised and the home organising company that we are.
So you wanted to organise people's stuff.
Yeah. One of my students that I worked with was like, you organise things because your own life is out of control. And it's not to me, but she said it as like people who love to organise things do it out of, no control for their own life. So you organise someone else's things. And there is definitely in that. You're like, yeah, it's pretty therapeutic. And I don't mind doing it. I really enjoyed doing a wardrobe setup after, guests arrive on board and you unpack their luggage and make it look beautiful in the wardrobes. And setting up.
Weird. There is what you're saying echoes with me so much. So I was on a boat, was second stew, and Madame and Sir, Madame said, I didn't know this, but Madame had said, don't unpack my stuff, I'll do it myself. Nobody sent that to me. So I went downstairs, did Sir's, then did Madame's. She came down, she was like, you've unpacked my stuff. And I'm like, yeah.
Right program to do.
So she looked in the cupboards and the drawers. She was like, you've done it exactly the way I wanted it. So that's fine. So I was like, yes. I did it the way it obviously would make the most sense. So I'm really pleased that I was like, I've never been so scared in my entire life. Like when she came down, she's like, you've touched my stuff.
You touch my stuff, you think, oh my God.
That chief stew was rubbish. Just putting it out there. It got worse, that trip, from that moment on. But anyway.
I don't understand guests who don't want you to unpack their luggage. It's actually really frustrating. There's a couple who are like, don't go in my cabin, don't clean it, don't unpack it. And it's almost like you're like, oh, glitching at the thought. It was so annoying. We had one guest come on board. He was a good friend of the principal. And every time it would be like, don't unpack my stuff, don't move my things. And you're like, but I want to.
It's so untidy. You're ruining the room. The cabin looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you go around your friends' houses and start organising their stuff when they're not looking? Just it's like
I don't start touching it and moving it on purpose, but loads of them come to me. I mean, the amount of messages I get, or people are like, hello, can you advise what I should use for this? Or how would you do this? And all of my friends are like buying places at the moment and sending me photos of the rooms. What should I do with this space? I'm thinking, I'm not an interior designer, but
could be an arm of the business.
I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. So I just want to give them my opinion and who knows.
That could be a part of the complete package. I can design it and organise your stuff in it. So you literally don't have to do anything. So you got an idea.
Yeah.
What was it like getting started?
It was brilliant because I came back. Yeah, exactly. I came back during COVID when everything was still a little bit in lockdown, which is brilliant because it gave me that time to set up my website and work out what I was going to do. I'd been on a Prince's Trust How to Start a Business course many years before, and I still had the booklet. So I went through how to write your mission statement, how to do your target market, all of the kind of things you should do, the key financials. And I just made the booklet match my business. Literally put a website up, got some photos done, and away we go. I can't remember. My first client, I think, found me online. And before I knew it, I was in this massive, most beautiful architecturally designed house, organising a full walk-in wardrobe that was like everywhere. And I kind of really bit off more than I could chew in terms of, I can do this in 2 days by myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? So I had some really late nights and very sweaty days, and then realised that I needed to get in some help.
Did you do it in 2 days?
Yeah, did it in 2 days. But it was like working way past, I'd say, I'll work till 5, and you're still there at 9, 10, beavering away. And they're like, that was fine. And I'm thinking, I don't live here. I need to leave. I need to go home. Overpromise, under deliver. No, I tried to under deliver. It still looked good, but over promised.
So I'm just gonna get, you didn't get necessarily the clientele that you were targeting straight away, or was it a bit of a mix? Because I imagine you get calls from some people, because rich people can be gross.
Yeah.
Like,
I've had such a mix.
just absolutely loaded, but live in squalor in a way.
I've had all sorts actually. Yeah. I think at first, very much because I did this from Cheltenham. So I had all the countryside, so loads of farmhouses that were pretty filthy, maybe just with having loads of dogs and horses and chickens and tortoises in the utility room, and like sneezing my way because I'm quite allergic to cats. So just sneezing my way through trying to organize these two kitchens. And I've done also, a real range of homes to start off with. And I'd say yes to doing someone's garage and more like decluttering jobs before realizing, whoa, that's a completely different ballgame. That goes hand in hand with things like ADHD, and decluttering can be related to OCD and hoarding, which are actual like mental disorders that need specialist knowledge on how to deal with it, so that your client isn't getting too panicked when you're going through their things and things like that.
Have you had that, like people panicking as you're clearing?
Yeah, I did. I worked for one house. This husband had phoned me to go and work in his house for his wife as a gift. And I hadn't realized she was like severely immobile, so couldn't move herself around the house, and was like trying to help and then was struggling breathing. And it was all just, and there was nowhere for me to put the stuff. And I actually wasn't allowed to get rid of the stuff. So it was make this room amazing, like a miracle, in my mind, but don't get rid of anything. And as you know, if you put a messy cupboard back into, if you take all the stuff out of a messy cupboard and try and put it back neatly, it's never going to fit.
No.
So I had some pretty tough days and some pretty steep learning curves, I think, before I was like, when does Emma stop saying yes?
Keep getting yourself into a mess.
Yeah. And when do I realize, no, this is my specialism. My specialism is working for the yacht owner level households. And that's where I need to focus on, because
the contacting like private houses, private households and family offices, and going, if you need anybody.
And I've not actually had to do much. I'm really lucky. I haven't done much outreach, actually, going out to households. I think events like your Pearls of Wisdom event in the Shard connected me with loads of ladies there who had friends who were household managers or PAs. And through that, the network kind of spiderwebbed out. The client that contacted me via my website out of a mystery, I don't know how he found me to do his house in the Cotswolds, he's very high up in an architecture firm and that also designs yachts, and has then put me out to all of his friends, which has been really amazing, and client contacts. And
cool.
Then, so it's been just a lot of word of mouth. But definitely I found the jobs where the budgets have been lower or the clientele haven't been the yachtee standard, wanting that a lot harder, not because it's always fun to have loads of money and be able to spend it, and buy what you want. My knowledge of the products is less. I know less about the products that you can buy from Dunelm, to knowing more about the products that you can go to, I don't know, Gio Bagnara or Panetti, and you can say, oh, they do these amazing leather boxes. This is what we use. I know the sizes, dimensions, blah, blah, blah. Off the top of my head, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Which sounds bizarre, but that's just what we know. And it's better to work within the realm and the products that I know, rather than trying to find something on Amazon that may or may not fit.
Well, also, but in the beginning, you're just wanting clients, I guess.
Yeah, I just did anything. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is difficult. So,
and then I didn't get the results I wanted. And I found that really, I wasn't proud of the work I was doing. And I never want to, not that it's about posting about it, because now I actually don't post about my projects. But I was like, I'd leave a project and I'd feel really unfulfilled. Didn't look that good, or it didn't look as good as I wanted it to. Even though they were delighted and thought, oh my gosh, this is the best thing since sliced bread, I be going, or they could have been so much better.
So you don't post about your projects now? You don't put any
Less so, yeah.
on the telly on socials, because I'd be probably be one of those that are like, oh no, that's quite.
I know. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I just don't know what to do. Is whether a lot of my clients, I don't really feel it's right to be going around and taking photos of their private properties. It's very much like when you're on the yacht, you're not going to be taking photos of the interior of the boat and posting online. And again, a lot of my clients are of that same level. And also, I never think, also we're on jobs and I never take very good photos. And I just think, oh, I'm never that happy with the photos anyway. And there's always something slightly off, or in the photos there's a speck of dust from something. And I think that perfectionism stops me. So I'm like,
you just have to take photos of when you go shopping for clients instead. When you're in the shop.
So I have a limited range of photographs of the finished project. But yeah, a lot of it is probably just because of the privacy.
So one of the things when we were talking, obviously before we recorded this conversation, that as your business is expanded, you've got a team, and you were telling me about doing, obviously you organise people's houses, but you could do moving. People move houses, rich people. Yeah. And you hire a whole bunch of ex-stews.
Yeah, I'm super passionate about that. If I wasn't doing what I do at the moment, I'd be looking at how I can help stews get land-based work that's different. So, and this is my way of giving back a little bit. But also, I only trust stewardesses now to help come and join a team. We do large projects. So whether it's a household looking to move, we'll do it's almost like a changing rooms moment where we'll go to your old residence, pack it up, work with third-party contractors to do that. And then we'll go to the new household, set it up from scratch. And it could be everything, literally from, I've provisioned for a whole house and set it up like a new build, purchasing everything from scratch. So when we arrived, it was just boxes everywhere. Literally like a new build setup, and unpack, polish, set it up. It's really fun.
So that sounds really cool, because it's just stuff's brand new, out of the box, and then you're making it all look nice.
And then you do the big food shop, and you get everything that you want, and you fill the kitchen cupboards with it. It was all like Dale's big cans. It's amazing. Picture perfect home. I think our drawers were like on the floor when Madame's clothes got delivered by her butler. It all came on like hotel style rails, like little trolleys on gold bellboy trolleys, and it's just like racks upon racks of like brand new designer beautiful clothes and boxes of unopened Chanel pumps and every single Hermes loafer. I was just like, this is amazing. So yes,
a team of girls. Like, this is the thing. I would probably do it for free.
Yeah,
because it would just remember it.
Yeah, I think that's what's happened is, and I've got this really great team that I've kind of say it's Charlie's Angels, put a message out on the LO WhatsApp, the living organised kind of staffing WhatsApp, and say, hey guys, anyone free? We've got this date. And yeah, everyone comes together, and it's more like a chance for camaraderie again. You feel like you're back on the boat. I've got full uniform, like being on the yacht again, the same shoes.
No sports now, I hope.
No, I haven't sport. I have considered it, and I have to sometimes wear a sport. So, but yeah, and it's everything from household setups with the team to just going in and organising on sport. Yeah.
It sounds like so much fun. That's one of the things, obviously, we've talked about on the podcast loads of times. Like, when you leave, you miss that crew camaraderie, and also people that really understand what you've just experienced as well. Like, if I'd known, if I hadn't, if I'd lived in London, I would have been all over that. It would have been amazing, because it's playing to your strengths, but in a new environment. And there's not many opportunities to do that. And I think, anybody who's considering leaving yachting but will be in your kind of vicinity, I would definitely contact you for just it doesn't have to be like a continuous job either, just to check in. Like, I bet it's just amazing when the girls get together.
I've got a few that actually work full-time jobs and then are going, if you've got anything on the weekend, I'll come and help. And like, it's good paid as well. It's not, you don't have to just do it for free. Don't worry. It's not coming for, for free to come and help. And they're like, no, I actually just want to do it. I want to come and have a weekend doing some fun stuff in nice houses and get together. And it's definitely they're all off doing amazing things. I've got some of the team setting up their own businesses. So just need that something to get like some cash, I guess. And then also have that side. I've got some who are mothers and just want some time back feeling themselves maybe, or some time away from the kids. And so it just works. It can work for anyone. However they want to, be available or not available, or come up and spend so some aren't actually even based in London, and we don't just have roles in London. I work a lot in the Cotswolds and would like to work further afield as well, to be honest.
Sounds divine. I think
we'll see.
No, but I do. We've spoken to lots of women, and you had an idea of what you wanted to do as a business. A lot of women don't really know, try some stuff, and then obviously get really demoralized because it's not really running out, and then go back on board, and then you end up in this weird yo-yo thing, which then can affect other life choices because you can't narrow down the how to get off choice. So it can because it has a knock-on effect. You go back for another 2 years, these are all times in your life when you could be in a relationship, planning to have children. Do you know what I mean? If you keep going back, you delay getting off and building the next part of your life.
100%. I think a lot of my good friends are actually in that same situation. And some of the girls who come and work for Living Organised, they're back because they want to make a life on land. And they're super determined. We have amazing conversations. We go for coffees, we talk about the future and how to set up, or how they can even come into Living Organised itself and help expand bits of the business. Because I've always got, requests for all sorts of things that I can't just do by myself. I could really do with some help with someone who has knowledge on, staffing or an interior designer or all sorts of things. I say, hey, come on board, come and join the fold. And then before I know it, I get the text that goes, hey, I'm actually en route back to a yacht at the moment. It's happened too many times. I go, no, you can do this. And they're going into 40 years old. And I'm like, you're single. And I just...
Yeah, no, it's pretty tough. I would really quite like to not have some of the conversations that I'm having. We're finding a real, more and more women running out of time because they won't get off and just stick with it. It's really hard. It's really tough, but you've just got to get off, especially if you want kids.
Yeah, I'm a massive advocate for sticking to it once you get to land, and it will be okay. So I'm always like...
But providing, we're doing a couple of, projects with you and Living Organised, tapping into that confidence again, playing to your strengths, that could tide you over for the next month. Do you know what I mean? It really could. It's quite cool what you're doing, even though, I know people are helping you do your project, but do you know what I mean? It's a really vital part that could ease a lot of people's transitions.
Yeah, and I think that's why I get the most joy out of that. It's really, it comes back to that helping people that I just love, like being able to actually have created that network, which is really cool. But it's not, it's not always going to be plain sailing when you come back to land. Things are going to work, they're not going to not work. I did this Living Organised full time, and everyone looks at the website and goes, oh my goodness, it looks like you're doing amazingly, or the Instagram. And I get loads of, praise, and it sounds great. I get, yeah, guys, it's been really tough. There've been times where I'm in a garage at 10 p.m. panicking because I can't get it finished, or I haven't got any jobs for a couple of weeks. And I'm thinking, I can't, go to that party or that hen do where you've got to put loads of money in, and it's tough.
Is that just normal life? This is the thing. It's just normal life.
And same business.
Your land-based friends miss out on stuff because of life scenarios as well.
You have to change
It
your
is,
lifestyle as well.
yeah, you've got to stop being a yes person.
Yeah. But definitely, changed to set up the business. I changed my lifestyle massively. Didn't go back to London. Lived really frugally. Literally, would go in the supermarket and be kind of comparing how much things were. Wouldn't go out. Stopped doing all the things I loved, like yoga classes, because I was like, they're too expensive. I can't afford it. So there was a lot of things that you roll back on when you go set up a business. And now doing the juggle a little bit, I've gone out and done, just because I'm interested in doing other projects, other things a bit with Formula One. I know that we mentioned I travel a lot. That's a little side hustle. Well, something that I do more and more of is work in a role in F1 alongside living organised. And then in time, living organised will probably take up my time all over again. So it's
Well,
constantly.
you just moved in with, you got to organise your fella. I hope he's ready for the experience.
Yeah, I have to say, dating a non-yachty. So unfortunately, obviously things came to an end with my former partner that I was on board with after a very long time. He's still back on the boats, but he was brilliant at just knowing how to organize things when we had a house together, just set it up. This is a whole new ball game. And we say ball game because, as you know, Cherise, I've got about 15 rugby balls sat on the floor next to me.
I don't really know what you could do with that as it and an organised. You could just maybe have a bag hanging from the ceiling with them all in. I don't know. Like, what can you do?
Now,
as they walk past, I don't know.
I'm
Be interested to see how you solve that. Okay, so 5 years. What are you thinking? What do you reckon? Where are you gonna be in 5 years' time?
My next goal in 5 years, definitely working for myself still. I think that pull to go and do this job that I've been working in a little bit in Formula One that we've touched on has taken my eye off the prize of working for myself and then taken my time. So now I'm definitely moving back into, full-time operating LO. And hopefully that means maybe moving to a bigger place that's not in London. And yeah, just life. I'd love to do like normal family life and all the things I dreamt of doing and expected it to have come a lot earlier. Whereas now I'm mid-30s and thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't expect to be, where I am. But I think the yachting experiences and things that I've done in place of maybe settling down and having a family earlier, like my friends who stayed land-based. I've had so many more experiences. Yeah.
Like I said, it's just fab to actually hear your story in its entirety because obviously we've known each other for quite some time now, so it's really nice. We always finish up on, we've got 3 bits of advice you'd give to somebody on board right now. She's in the laundry.
Yeah.
Chief Stew's rubbish. I kind of wanted, I got off, but I don't know. What are your 3 bits of advice to a lady on board right now?
I think it's having been there yourself and the world and all the laundry walls feel like they're caving in on sometimes. I think knowing that there are opportunities out there, whether that be moving to another yacht, just to see if it will make a difference. If you do want to stay in yachting, that's brilliant, and maybe another yacht will give you what you need. But if it's not and it's moving ashore, there's definitely a future there. It could be setting up your own business, or it could just be starting really humbly. Again, I think a lot of people are afraid to come back and go and do something like temp work as a receptionist at a Land Rover garage, like I did. And there's no shame in that. And it also leads to far greater things, like you can go meet other people. So definitely, I think that things will change and can get better. You just have to make the move and have that gumption, as they call it, to make that move.
Right. So have you, to finish up, got a crazy story? So like a story, it could be scary, funny, just a moment of just, oh my God, am I actually here? Is this real? What when you say, can you tell me the story from yachting? Please remember that nobody who can come back on your NDA is listening to this. They don't know who they think are. They're just like, I can't tell that. Somebody will tell me. I'm like, who? Who will tell? Who's listening to us?
Just all of my stories. I'm just like, oh, are they out of NDA or are they just gross? And I don't want to hear them come out of my mouth. And I was going like, oh God.
The first one that pops into your head.
Oh, the first one that pops into my head is a 24 karat gold butt plug. And I just, she's like, can I say it? I don't know.
Yes.
But when I found out about this living in the top drawer in the pantry and only being allowed out on request by the principal, it just blew my mind. And that was in one of my first couple of weeks of yachting. And I was like, I have arrived. I've arrived.
Explain this to me. What? What?
No, it was just something that lived in the top drawer in the pantry.
What is in the pantry?
Because it wasn't in the, the guest quarters, and it was only on request. Say no more. I mean, I don't know. Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm just thinking about the person that asked, can you go get the thing?
Yeah, just go get that thing. Normally it was, it's the butler. But I just, that was fun. It was just a really fun item that was just really rogue, and I had never anticipated seeing on board.
I just don't know where it's in the pantry. Some places are so good, and I just don't know whether I'm okay with that. Like from an organisation, cleanliness kind of environment.
If we kept it there, it tends to whip it out. Yeah, it's actually in service.
What?
Would you like this with your main course, though?
I take it out on a tray. Like, what do you have?
Oh my gosh, now you've reminded me of another really, just ridiculous. No. Oh.
Did you take it out? And did they take it out?
No. This is
how did you serve that?
Oh, this is a completely unrelated. No, this leads on to another time about how do you serve something and walking down. We once had a rabbi come on board, and he couldn't eat any of the food because it wasn't, unless it had been on a blessed chopping board. And he could only drink neat tequila. So I found this really funny. So he was very specific about what he could eat, and then would just be like knocking back neat tequila. So it's just wild. And it was my job to serve his food, which was so it's just a plate, carry it down the deck when on quite like a rocky sea as well. Just a plate with a whole avocado, a whole cucumber, a whole tomato. And I think it was a fish wrapped in some foil or something. I just walked down this deck with all of these vegetables rolling around on the plate. And I had to do it with a straight face when all I could hear was everyone just laughing in the radio in my ear, just creasing, rolling around on the floor. So that was good.
At least you weren't taking it to his bedroom. That would be more weird.
That would be really weird. The whole vegetables.
I just don't.
Yeah.
My brain is going to be like, all the time I'm on holiday, I'm going to, how the fuck do you serve a butt? Like, how do you, like, who picks it out of the pantry? But
no, who cleans it?
How many bucks?
You're not polishing that thing. I never had to do that. I never think that's.
But yeah, that's worse than the sex dolls. Or no, maybe not worse.
I'm not sure.
Do you go and clean my sex doll? No, I can't. This job is not for me.
Who had to do that?
Somebody had to do that. Had to get them out the cupboard, put them in the bedroom, and then what do you like? What you clean them when you put?
Oh my goodness. You could do a whole episode on funny stories and we'd all be in big trouble.
We will do one, but you've kind of got, people get really, I don't know who they think's watching them for the NDA stuff. Like they get super, somebody will find it. I'm like, they won't, because no one's listening to us.
I do feel really lazy about speaking about it. I'm like, can I do it? But as long as you just say it really quickly, it's fine. Never happened. It was not recorded or anything.
My brain, that's it now. You've got that. That's going to be ages.
I was really lucky. We never had, when you watch Below Deck, I actually can't make myself watch it. I find it really cringe and it makes me feel like, oh no, this isn't what we did. But they have really drunk guests and all sorts of wild things go on. I actually didn't really have that sort of experience. my guests were often Russian, very quiet, very, civil. So we didn't have these big kind of drunk parties or any wild things going
I've had to, because we've had
in the
guests on, I
summer.
have had to watch episodes of Below Deck. And I imagine you probably feel the same because they don't look like they're doing the same job. Because they're
No,
not cleaning properly and they're not, do you know what I mean? And they do, but they do it for things like things aren't stowed properly, so they all explode, and it's all a show. But it gives me a bit of anxiety. It's like watching your worst charter go horribly or horribly wrong in
Yeah.
slow motion.
It's really frustrating actually, because it's also made it being employed on land really hard after yachting.
Because
Lots of employers go, oh, you like on Below Deck?
No.
Right, so you've just spent the last 6 years of your life getting drunk. And they can't see us for the skills that we can bring to the table
Really?
about being really like pedantic about things. We can be super on it. Like, we used to working hard hours on our feet, like giving our all to a job, all the things that employers crave these days. And instead they've seen like
dickheads on Below Deck. No offense
Nah,
to people that are on
very
Below Deck,
different.
but they are paid to be dramatic, and that's generally what we don't want on board if we can help it.
Yeah.
Right, before we go down the Below Deck rabbit hole, I want to say thank you very much for being on the podcast. It's been really good. And yeah, just give me a bell if you need someone for the weekend. I might do it.
Absolutely. You'll be on speed dial. I'm like, come on.
Well, I know you don't like putting out stuff on the socials, but I probably would. There's a few of us that are like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it for the weekend. We'll help you for the day, and then go be stews that aren't working at nighttime.
I love this.
Do you remember what it was like when we had that first night off, when we stepped off after charter? Be like those kind of stews. Yeah, that sounds like loads of fun. Thank you so much for being on board, being on the pod.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
If you're
funny.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about your other stories, actually. I think. But this is the end of the podcast. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we've got plenty of others. Emma's details will be in the bio if you want to work for her like I do, and give her a call. But until next time, see you later. Thank you.